Sheet of yours. Assault, theft, resisting.
I've spoken to the judge, and he's agreed to release you under my supervision.
Really?
You have to meet with a therapist.
Good Will Hunting is often remembered as a quiet, emotionally powerful drama, but beneath its simplicity lies a deeply layered story about genius, trauma, friendship, and the fear of one's own potential. The film revolves around a young man from South Boston whose life seems small and predictable on the surface. Yet hidden within him is a mind capable of solving the most complex mathematical problems in the world. What makes the story so compelling is not just his intelligence, but the emotional walls he has built around himself. This is not a film about mathematics alone. It is about identity, self-worth, and the courage it takes to change your life. At the center of the story is Will Hunting, a janitor at a prestigious university who secretly possesses extraordinary mathematical abilities. While professors and scholars struggle with equations written on chalkboards, Will solves them effortlessly in secret, leaving behind proof of brilliance without claiming recognition. His gift is natural and almost instinctive, yet he treats it as something casual, even disposable. He is more comfortable blending into his working-class environment than stepping into a world that might demand more from him. This contrast between genius and self-sabotage becomes the driving force of the film. The early parts of the story show Will's everyday life with his close-knit group of friends. They spend their time driving around South Boston, joking, getting into bar fights, and working construction jobs. These friendships are not shallow. They are loyal and deeply rooted. His best friend in particular sees Will's potential clearly and dreams of a future where Will escapes the neighborhood and builds something greater. However, Will resists that path. He finds comfort in familiarity. The idea of leaving behind the only world he has known feels more frightening than staying stuck. The turning point arrives when Will's mathematical talent is discovered by a respected professor who recognizes that the anonymous solutions on the university chalkboard are the work of a rare mind. When Will gets into legal trouble after a violent altercation, this professor intervenes, arranging a deal that spares him jail time on the condition that he studies advanced mathematics and attends therapy. This agreement sets up the emotional journey of the film. It is not simply about nurturing talent, but about healing the wounds that prevent that talent from flourishing. Will's court-ordered therapy sessions initially fail because he treats them like intellectual sparring matches. He intimidates and mocks therapists, exposing their weaknesses and refusing to open up about himself. His intelligence becomes a shield. He uses it to maintain control, to avoid vulnerability, and to push people away before they can reject him. These scenes reveal that his real struggle is not academic. It is emotional. His sharp mind has allowed him to survive, but it has not allowed him to connect. Everything shifts when he meets a therapist who refuses to be intimidated. Unlike the others, this therapist understands that beneath Will's arrogance lies deep pain. Their first sessions are tense and confrontational. Will tries to analyze and insult him, but the therapist confronts him directly, setting boundaries and demanding respect. For the first time, Will cannot outthink his way out of emotional accountability. This dynamic forms the emotional core of the film. As their sessions continue, layers of Will's past are slowly revealed. He endured severe abuse during childhood, moving through foster homes where he experienced violence and neglect. These experiences shaped his worldview. He learned early that attachment leads to pain, so he built emotional armor. He believes that if he never fully invests in anyone or anything, he can never be hurt. This fear of abandonment influences every decision he makes, from sabotaging job opportunities to pushing away romantic relationships. Parallel to his therapy, Will begins a relationship with a college student who sees beyond his rough exterior. Their connection is genuine and warm, offering him a glimpse of what vulnerability might feel like. Yet when she invites him to imagine a future beyond Boston, he retreats. He fabricates stories, distances himself, and ultimately pushes her away. His fear of change outweighs his desire for love. These moments are heartbreaking because they show how self-doubt can be stronger than opportunity. The professor who discovered Will's talent views him primarily as a once-in-a-generation mathematical mind. He arranges prestigious interviews and research opportunities, convinced that Will's future lies in academia and scientific advancement. In contrast, the therapist sees something more important than genius. He sees a wounded, young man who must first believe he deserves happiness. This ideological conflict between the professor and the therapist highlights one of the film's central questions: what matters more, achievement or emotional fulfillment? One of the most powerful aspects of the story is its refusal to glorify genius. Will's intellect does not automatically grant him happiness. In fact, it isolates him. He can solve problems no one else can, yet he struggles with the simplest emotional truths. The film suggests that intelligence without emotional growth can become a prison. Knowledge alone cannot heal trauma. A defining moment occurs during a therapy session when the therapist repeatedly tells Will that the abuse he endured was not his fault. At first, Will resists, dismissing the words intellectually. But as the phrase is repeated, his defenses crumble. For the first time, he allows himself to feel the pain he has suppressed for years. The scene is quiet yet devastating. It is not about solving equations. It is about accepting that he deserved better than the suffering he experienced. That breakthrough becomes the turning point in his emotional journey. Meanwhile, his best friend delivers a moment of tough love that carries enormous weight. He confesses that every day he hopes Will leave the neighborhood and pursue something greater. Not out of jealousy, but out of belief. He would be disappointed if Will wasted his gift out of fear. This speech reinforces the idea that true friendship sometimes means pushing someone toward uncomfortable growth as job offers and life-changing opportunities line up. Will faces a decision. He can accept a secure, prestigious career path mapped out by others, or he can choose something uncertain but personally meaningful. The beauty of the film lies in how it frames this choice. Success is not defined by salary or recognition. It is defined by authenticity. Will must decide whether he wants to hide behind his fear or risk vulnerability in pursuit of connection. The emotional resolution is understated but powerful. Instead of delivering a grand speech about ambition, the story concludes with a simple act of courage. Will chooses to follow his heart, embracing uncertainty for the chance at love and self-discovery. It is a quiet rebellion against the idea that his worth is measured solely by intellectual contribution. In doing so, he steps into adulthood not as a prodigy, but as a human being willing to grow. The film's tone remains grounded throughout, avoiding melodrama. Conversations drive the narrative more than spectacle. Long, intimate scenes allow characters to breathe and evolve naturally. The setting of South Boston is not merely a backdrop, but a character in itself, representing comfort, limitation, and identity. The contrast between blue-collar streets and academic halls mirrors Will's internal conflict between where he comes from and where he could go. Another key strength of the story is its exploration of masculinity and vulnerability. The men in Will's life express loyalty and affection in understated ways. They joke, they argue, they fight, but beneath it lies deep care. The therapist's gentle persistence challenges traditional notions of emotional repression, showing that strength can include openness and honesty. Thematically, Good Will Hunting speaks to anyone who has ever doubted themselves. It addresses the fear of success just as much as the fear of failure. Sometimes people sabotage opportunities not because they lack ability, but because they fear they do not deserve them. The film treats this fear with compassion rather than judgment. Even years after its release, the story continues to resonate because it is universal. Not everyone is a mathematical genius, but many understand the struggle of confronting past trauma, risking vulnerability, and stepping into the unknown. The message is subtle yet profound. Your past may shape you, but it does not have to define your future. By the end, Good Will Hunting transforms from a story about talent into a meditation on self-acceptance. It argues that true growth begins when we allow ourselves to believe we are worthy of love, opportunity, and happiness. The most important problem Will solves is not written on a chalkboard. It is written within himself. That is why the film endures. It combines sharp dialogue, emotionally honest performances, and deeply human themes into a story that feels intimate yet inspiring. It reminds viewers that intelligence is powerful, but courage, the courage to heal, to love, and to change is even more transformative. Change is even more transformative.